What is up, my body warriors, and welcome back to another video, another episode of the 2020 checklist. This is a series in which we're going through those advanced goals, going through some tips and tricks when it comes to training to achieve them. This one obviously is focused more around me, but hopefully there is some useful stuff in there for your skills. Today, we're going to be talking about the front lever. Right, so yes, we're going to be talking about the front lever today. As I said, the next episode of the checklist. I am personally not training for the front lever at the moment. I got basically the 5 seconds front lever that I was kind of hoping to have there or thereabouts at the end of last year. And to be honest, I want to focus my energy on other things. But because in the spirit of continuing in this checklist and it would be useful for you guys, I wanted to just go over some training tips today. So me and Erdy, the co-owner and head coach at Move Hackney, as I do every month, we just hung out, we trained, we chatted through some ideas when it comes to the front lever, and hopefully these tips help you out. We also tried a sneaky little bench press 1RM just because I was interested. Yeah, all to come in this episode. Let's jump back into the front lever tips. Right, so when it comes to the front lever, there's a few steps in between doing a front lever and how to train for it and making sure you're ready for it. What do you think is the basic level of strength that you need for the front lever? Also, the reason Erdy's doing quarter range of motion pull-ups is because he's got an injury, not because he's really weak.
I mean, a hang would be good. Some hanging activations would be good, and I'd say maybe at least a bit of range in
scapular pull-up.
in the scapular arched pull-ins. Some lift through the chest because it will show like good contraction and generally good tension, being able to create it in the right areas for the scap.
Understand how to pull straight arms, hanging leg raise.
Definitely, yeah. Hanging leg raise. Again, some of these people that are doing tucked front levers don't have a hanging leg raise yet, but part of the program. But they'll be doing like hanging kickouts or to 90 degree because they can't get full range just yet.
I would say that's probably fair. Scapular pull-ups, definitely go to. Hanging leg raises, definitely go to. Some form of back conditioning. In the bodyweight standards that I said, like the basics level I put was 10 chin-ups, but I also put in that a 10-second tuck front lever. Right, so when it actually comes to training the front lever, let's assume we've got a decent amount of strength under our belt, which is definitely worth you investing the time for. It's going to make the progress in the long term that much easier. When we do actual front lever training, I don't think it's best protocol to just sit in a tuck front lever or sit in a front lever statically. Instead, it tends to be better if we do reps. Because when we do reps, we get to incorporate one, full range of motion. When we do isometrics, we're only strengthening between 20 degrees, 15 degrees, either side of that joint angle. And we also get to incorporate a positive movement up, a negative movement, an eccentric down, which is going to help us more when it comes to long-term strength gains. So whilst statics aren't necessarily the best drill, I do think that adding in pauses in that front lever position is a great way to combine both getting that time in the position, getting the isometric contraction, which is useful, and also getting the best of both worlds. You still get to do the eccentric and the concentric up and down to get the most out of all different types of modalities of training. It's not necessarily that statics suck, it's just that this sort of thing tends to give you better results. Do you disagree? Does it pass the beard of truth?
I agree. And I believe statics have their context and their value as well. So especially with beginners, somebody who's not used to doing any tuck front lever can benefit from just having some hold time there. And then let's say you're moving on to your advanced tuck or your frog or your half lay, it helps people understand the contractions they need to create if they spend a little bit of time doing some isometrics in that position.
And I think that's really the basis of the front lever. Let's keep it simple. We don't need to overcomplicate these things. There's definitely some nuance to a lot of these techniques, especially when we're trying to enter those higher end level of things. So if we're going for like the straddle and the front lever, there's something that we all want to do differently. But as a general rule of thumb, get strong with chin-ups and pull-ups, get a stronger core. You need to be able to do a hang and leg raise, in my opinion. That's kind of a basic thing. And yeah, then just start training the front lever wherever you can. Arch pull-ins are fantastic.
tuck front lever pulls, all of these sort of things. I actually did cover a lot of the progressions in my front lever tutorial, so I'll link that down below for further information for people. So I guess there's two things left to go over when it comes to the front lever. Number one is about getting from tuck position to a more extended position, like the straddle or the full, and the second one is accessory movement. So let's tackle the first one first. So some basic things with this is essentially you're not strong enough. The strength required to be in a tuck versus to be in a straddle or something is just significantly more. You need to get stronger, it's a simple fact. So you just need to do some more reps, some more work, keep training those basic positions and stay consistent with it. There's two positions that I like when it comes to understanding that position more. Number one is a piked straddle. We can move the legs into a straddle position, and depending on how piked we have the hips, how much angle we have at the hips, obviously flat being a straddle front lever and piked almost being equivalent to an advanced tuck front lever, and we can kind of adjust how much we're going to pike the hips to vary the intensity of the exercise. The second position is the frog half lay position. So again, you get those hips out a little bit straighter, but you're just going to bend the knees so that you can bring a little bit more weight back to the center. It makes it slightly easier than the regular straddle. To actually try and use these movements, if you're actually strong enough, you're kind of on the edge of it, we can use something called a mechanical advantage front lever pull. Again, I went over it in the front lever tutorial. So it's just like the pulls we're doing in this session. You pull up. When you're at that top position, you extend out into a position that you can't quite hold, and then you lower as slow as you can under control and repeat 10,000 times until you can actually do a front lever. And yeah, the last part of today's session was basically accessory movements. We both did some form of like extra pulling volume, whether that was doing bodyweight rows on the rings. I personally quite like to do some weighted rows at the moment. That's what I've been playing with. So at the end of the day, it's a pulling pattern, it's a rowing pattern. It's gonna be reliant on the same muscles, the traps, the lats. If you're not as strong there, it's gonna show in the front lever. So then things took a slightly different turn in that training session.
So I'm on to the next part of my workout, which I shared in the planche. I'm doing some bench press, funnily enough, in a specific way that's supposed to help the planche, but I also felt like I might briefly test my 1 rep max for bench press, not ever really training it, just kind of out of interest.
Got beef rib in the fridge. Yes, lats. Oh my god, this is heavy.
Oh my god, this is heavy.
Yeah.
It's only 60 kilos.
Yeah, it's fucking heavy. Spot, do you want me to do your hand jack?
Yeah, I'd like to swap this. So this is the first time, obviously I've done a little bit of bench in this program, but I've not benched more than like 60 kilos, and that's the first time I've done bench press in 2 years probably.
Very good.
Very good. Oh, that felt way too early.
Go on. Go on. I didn't like it. You might have had it.
I had it. Actually, one time. Pathetic.
You may have had it.
Push, 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 push.
But that is basically the end of today's training session, fulfilling the prophecy that calisthenics is essentially pole dancing for guys that can't get big. The truth hurts, man, the truth hurts. I was actually very disappointed by that bench press. I've done 125 kilograms in the past. I mean, admittedly, I don't train it, so what can I expect? But I did expect to be stronger. That being said, I would like to pass this one off to you. Have you lifted weights in the past? Has your bench press gone up since you've done bodyweight training? Let me know in the comment section down below. And also while you're down there, just feel free to ask any questions you have, or if you just want to let me know what you thought of this episode and what you're thinking of the 2020 checklist series. I'm enjoying it, it's a fun one to make. It's a little bit more casual, a little bit more conversation. If you did just enjoy this video, then you can always hit that thumbs up button and support the channel. Right next to it as well is that subscribe button if you want to join the Bodyweight Warrior tribe so you don't miss out on the next episode of this series and also all the good future content to come. But that has basically been it for this week, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week and